What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Yankees Avenue Show on the Yankees Avenue YouTube channel. As usual, I'm Patrick Hennessy. That's Dan Rourke. How we doing today, Dan?
Pat, I should be doing terrible. And part of me is doing pretty terrible because the Yankees are slumping recently. But there's two things on my side right now. One, they did take the series finale against Tampa Bay. And two, I'm chilling with my boy, Pat. How are you doing, man?
That's nice. No, that might be one of the
That is
nicest
nice,
things
bro.
I've
On
heard you
last
say.
episode, you criticized me about being a bad friend or a couple episodes ago. Nah,
Well,
dude. Let's
that
be
didn't
real
come
here.
out of left field. But yeah, no, I would say I'm doing pretty good. Like you said, the Yankees took the series finale in Tampa. After a brutal 2 games. I mean, you could say a brutal 3 games, even though they did take one.
Or a brutal 2 months worth of one of the worst collapse in baseball history, potentially.
But however, going into that Tampa series, like we said, the Yankees they did steal the final game, and now their AL East lead is at 5 games. Dan, let me ask you, did this series, because we kind of spoke about it going into it, like that this was a huge series, and also next weekend they play Tampa 2, another huge series. Did this series change your mind at all as far as like where we think the Yankees stand going into, I guess, a potential postseason run?
No, it didn't change my mind too much. And yeah, it would have been totally different if they did lose that final game and got swept because 3 games is a lot different than 5 games. And that's where they're at now with 3 more to play against Tampa Bay this coming weekend. And overall, just 4 weeks of baseball left. I'm still going to stick to my guns, dude, and say they win the AL East, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't in pretty much panic territory. I went into Sunday's game for the first time ever, really kind of expecting a loss. And thank God for that Judge leadoff homer because that immediately set the tone. But it's at the point now where when they're down 1 or 2-0, it does feel like there's no chance they come back, which is totally stark different from where they're at earlier in the year. There were times they would be down 5-0 early, and it felt like, and we would come back and win. The offense has to be more than just Judge, and that goes without saying. But getting Rizzo back will be a huge help. Stanton, and we'll get to him later, at some point will get hot. Assuming that happens, 5-game lead in the East, a month to play, 3 more against the Rays. I'm going to say they still take the division. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still a little nervous.
Yeah. I mean, I think also because it's like if the Yankees walked into Tampa and they kind of just, I don't know, maybe showed a little bit of a dog in them, we would feel a little bit more confident. But I mean, bro, even the final game of the series that they did win, they didn't really look too great, right? Like I said, they won by the skin of their teeth, really. I'm gonna kind of like push the line back a little bit now and kind of like look forward to next weekend. I think next weekend is kind of going to be like the biggest series of the year, just because like it's the last time the Yankees are playing the Rays this season. It's a series at home. I think maybe they could use that as some sort of redemption, because now if Tampa walks into the Bronx next weekend and they take 2 out of 3 or they sweep, dude, we're looking at like really, really dangerous territory.
Yeah, if they've sweep, that's catastrophic. And the Twins series going into it, huge. What is that, a 4-game or is that a 3-game? I don't even know off the top of my head. It is a 4-gamer. Yeah. So I mean, dude, at the very least, you have to split. But honestly, I almost want to say at the very least, you have to take 3 out of 4.
But also, here's my thing. At that point, right? Let's say the Yankees do get swept and like they start blowing the division a little bit. Like now, then we'd get in murky waters. However, how would we feel at that point of them making the postseason in general? Because the Orioles are creeping up. The Orioles, I think, are what, like 8 games back or something like that. It's not an insane thing to think about anymore, that like maybe there's a very, very slim chance that the Yankees won't make the playoffs. Me personally, like I'm not too concerned about it, but I would understand why that thought would pop up in someone's head, which is crazy.
I could forgive somebody for being worried about that. And even myself, like yesterday after that loss, the second game in Tampa Bay, I went to the MLB standings because I was concerned about this very topic. Calm me down a little bit because right now we do sit, I think it's, let's see, I guess it is 7.5 up on a playoff spot. That would be tough to blow. Now, if any team can do it, it's a team that has lost about 10 games in ground over the last 2 months. But I've been saying it for a while, and this is something I really want to stick to. They can't keep playing this bad. They're not going to be 15 games under 500 in September, and that's what it would really take to blow a playoff spot.
Yeah,
so I think no matter
what,
what,
we say that for, Dan, we've said that for months now. We're they can't be this bad for this long, but they have been.
All right. Well, to be fair, they're technically a 500 team over the last, I'm pretty sure, 10 games. So if they just play 500 baseball, which is at this point asking the bare minimum, they're a 7.5-game lead. I think is too tough to blow. I'm not worried about that just yet. But like I said, I wouldn't be mad at anybody for thinking that. Nah.
It's weird that we have to talk about this.
It's very weird. It's very weird. It's very unfortunate. It's very upsetting. And it's the type of conversation that makes you want to consider therapy. but it's
Listen,
baseball.
you know what
It's
else?
baseball.
You know what else makes me want to consider therapy? The
What's
fact
that?
that Andrew Benintendi, he broke his right hamate bone. I'm
Which,
no
by the way,
doctor.
I had no idea what the hell Boone was talking about, or anybody when they mentioned this injury. It's his Hamlet or something like that.
Hamate.
Hamate.
I think it's how you pronounce it. But anyway,
I think Hamlet's the play Lincoln got shot at, by the way, isn't it? Or something like that. Go on. What's the
Hamlet?
topic? Yeah. It is a play. I know that for a fact, but I think that's where Lincoln got
it's a
shot at.
book. It's like a
Which
Shakespeare book.
probably, oh, please.
It's like Romeo
Shakespeare,
and
and you're going
Juliet,
to
I
tell me
think.
it's definitely not a play? Please.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. Shakespeare.
Yeah, respect.
Okay,
Come on.
cool.
All right, go on.
So anyway, Benintendi, right hamate bone, done, bro. It's like, it's awful. It's shattered. It's all over the floor. So I'm looking at Andrew Benintendi now, and he's one of, I guess, 3 Yankees left-handed hitters that are now on the IL. Well, Rizzo's not on the IL, but he's dealing with some
Might as
stuff.
well be, but
Might as well be at this point. But Carpenter's out, Rizzo's out, I guess. Benintendi's out. So the Yankees are missing like their 3 left-handed bats. The 2 I kind of want to focus on are kind of just Benny and Carpenter, just because I think they're like the ones that are a little most severe at this point. And I guess we're expecting them to be back by the postseason. I know Benintendi's timeline is like 3 to 4 weeks after the surgery, so he probably won't be back for the start of the postseason. But let's say the Yankees make it to the ALCS, maybe that's a possibility. Me personally, I'm not banking on the dude to like come back and like tear things up, especially anytime soon. However, in a perfect world, let's say both of them are like fully healthy and ready to go by October baseball time. Who do you think is most crucial to the Yankees' success in October?
This, I think, is maybe possibly the toughest question we've asked in the Yankees Avenue Show. And I really had to take it some time and think about this. I think it's Carpenter. Now, at first, I was going to say Benintendi just for the fact of the Yankees need a leadoff guy bad. Unless you're going to keep Judge there, which, hey, to be honest, I'm cool with. But with the way DJ's hitting, he's been the second worst. Gleyber Torres has been the worst hit in the American League since the All-Star break. DJ LeMahieu is literally number 2 when you're going by OPS. So he has not been good. They need to figure out the leadoff situation. So I was going to go Benintendi. But when you look at just the offensive production as a whole when it comes to driving in runs and home runs, Yankees are really, really lacking in that department. And this is a big part of it. Assuming Carpenter comes back and is the guy he was before he got hurt. Is he going to be not a 1 OPS guy probably, but is he even going to be an 800 OPS guy? If we get that compared to getting 750 to 780 OPS Benny, which is still good, and he's been really good for us over the last couple of weeks, I think just slightly Carpenter's the more important piece. But like you said, in an ideal world, we get both of them back, which is possible because, knock on wood, if we do hold on to the division, our first playoff game is until, I believe, October 11th. Benny plays his timeline as if we win the division, which that's a big if. Benny said he had the injury in his freshman year of college, and the recovery time was right around 2 to 4 weeks. I also did see some Twitter doctor, a legit doctor, by the way, not just Yankee fans claiming to be doctors, that said it shouldn't be season ending for him and that he could be playing by the first round of the playoffs. So take that as you will.
I think that that's fair. And also kind of like going back to the first point you made as far as that goes, like the Yankees do need a leadoff hitter, right? And hear me out, like maybe throw Carpenter in the leadoff spot, especially if Benintendi's like not healthy and ready to go. Dude, maybe you experiment with that. And I think the only problem would be that like I don't think Carpenter would be back in enough time to kind of like experiment with that before the postseason. So I don't know. But either way, I think I'd probably go with Carpenter in that scenario too. I mean, but I could also see why someone would argue Benintendi, just because, like I always say, I think he provides something to the Yankees that they're kind of like currently missing, like that leadoff contact bat with like some speed. Listen,
and
you can't
actually
go wrong
a good contact bat. We talk about like we always say, oh, high contact is good. Well, IKF is technically high contact, but Benintendi actually does it and does it well.
I don't want to talk about he
we don't have
like,
to talk about IKF, and I feel so bad for him. I mean, we talked about it last episode, but it's like it ain't your fault, bro. You shouldn't be in the starting lineup.
It's not his fault. I'm sure he's a great dude.
I'm sure he's a tremendous dude. I'm sure his dad's a great guy too. You saw that drama, right? We should move on.
I saw his brother. Okay, yeah. So listen, going back to the Tampa series real quick. Aaron Judge, 2 more home runs. He now has 53 on the season, setting a new career high. And you know what, Dan? He's on pace for 63 long balls, which would, I guess, break the record, depending on how you view it. Dan, if he does pass Roger Maris's 61 home run record, I guess, are you considering that the actual single season home run record? Because we all know, like, there's been numerous steroid users that have broken it. But what are you viewing as like the legitimate record at that point?
It would be Aaron Judge. And first, I want to say that even if you don't consider that to be the case, if you look at Bonds as a legitimate record holder, what Judge is doing is still remarkable. I mean, it would be the American League home run record. It would be the home run record in Yankee history, of course. Here's the way I look at it, and I think this is anybody who aligns with my viewpoint probably thinks it the same way. Roger Maris home run record in 1961, hit 61 homers. That record stood until McGwire in 98 and Sosa. McGwire hit 70. Sammy Sosa hit 66, later broken by Barry Bonds, who hit 73. What do Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, and Mark McGwire all have in common? They took a lot of steroids. Now, I don't blame them for that. It was the culture at the time. Same reason I don't blame A-Rod when he, at least his first go-round of PEDs. It was a culture. That's fine. But you can't deny that the record is skewed. Would Barry Bonds have hit 73 home runs if he wasn't loaded up on testosterone and whatever the hell he was taking, all these anabolic steroids? No. Mark McGwire claims he would have, but if he would hit 70 homers without steroids, he would have done it before taking steroids. So the way I see it is those records are tainted. While I still respect those players, those records are tainted. So if Judge does break Maris, that's the one, man. That's the one.
But Dan, to play devil's advocate here, because this might spark a little debate. I am looking at it in the sense of like you're saying that the record's tainted, right? However, it's still the record. You know what I mean? It's like the Astros 2017 World Series is tainted. However, they still won that World Series. So at the end of the day, even if Aaron Judge does hit 63 and he does break Roger Maris's record, personally, I'm still viewing Barry Bonds as the home run king. Not only of all time, but also single season. I know steroids, whatever. He hit 73, I think, home runs in a single season. He's my record holder. But moving on here. Giancarlo Stanton is 4 for 35 since returning from the IL, giving him a 114 batting average over that span. Not good. I think we could all agree and say that that's not good. However, how confident are we that he will return to form by October? Dan, I'm going to be honest with you. I'll give my take on this real quick because it's not that deep. I'm very confident that he will return to form by October. Giancarlo Stanton is one of those guys where I think Yankee fans should kind of know this by now. He'll go on 2-week periods where he looks like the worst hitter of all time. And then bang, he'll snap out of it one day and he'll go on a month stretch where he looks like the most dominant hitter in baseball. And especially with the postseason coming around, we know Stanton lives for the clutch moments. He lives for the big moments. So I think that it's going to be his time to shine. And on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as concern goes, with 10 being super concerned, I'm at a -5.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Pat, and very rarely do I use those words. I'll say one thing about Stan, and my point is the same as yours. So, yeah, I'm not concerned in the slightest about Stan. I couldn't agree more. He'll probably turn it on one game, and then he'll be one of the best postseason hitters of all time yet again. I want to give him props because he's really been kind of the only dude who's, including Judge, whose post-game interviews haven't frustrated the hell out of me. You kind of felt, I don't want to say the urgency necessarily, but he was accountable as hell. He pretty much was like, yo, I came off IL and I have not done my job. I've had zero production. They've expected me to come back in here and be an impact bat. Haven't been that. Got to be better. And it wasn't just a typical run-of-the-mill answer to a question like that just to get by. You could see he was pissed and he was disappointed in himself. And I don't know if players realize how long away that goes. I don't know. It's something that is underappreciated about Giancarlo Stanton, how well he's handled the media in every aspect since being a Yankee. He's never shied away from it. He's always, whether he's putting the team on his back or not, answered the questions, answered the tough questions. But yeah, as for his performance, we'll be fine. I don't think we should have any doubt about that.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, because you look back a couple of years ago, Giancarlo Stanton was public enemy number 1 to Yankees fans everywhere, and he still conducted himself in the most beautiful way possible. I love Giancarlo Stanton.
Me too. You know what I just realized? We're douchebags, bro. We didn't wish everybody a happy Labor Day today. It's Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Labor Day, which is kind of a big holiday. Maybe not by you, but I'm from the Jersey Shore. It's considered the last official weekend of the summer. So it's pretty much fall time, which, speaking of fall, pumpkin pecan waffles.
Oh, it's disgusting.
No, I love it, dude. I had 2 pumpkin spice coffees today.
Pumpkin pecan waffles?
Well, more so just a pumpkin smell, but I like the whole fall vibe, like I was saying on the last episode.
Okay, I like fall vibes, but I'm not a pumpkin guy. All these pumpkin spice lattes, pumpkin candles, pumpkin milkshake, pumpkin ice cream. I'm not a pumpkin guy, at all. But you know why? Because everything is always with cinnamon too. I despise cinnamon. I think cinnamon is disgusting.
Pat, you know who also despises cinnamon?
You?
Yes, you know what I do?
What?
I ask for no cinnamon, and my day's fine.
Yeah, but it still tastes. Then it's just pumpkin.
which is delicious. We got to move on.
Do you eat pumpkin? Have you eaten pumpkin?
Pumpkin
Like pumpkin
seeds.
pie?
Oh, fuck yeah. Absolutely.
Pumpkin seeds are good.
Pumpkin pie is delicious.
I don't like pie. Moving on though.
Please.
Listen, speaking of pie, there's no correlation here, but Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela are going to be returning to the Bronx this week for the first time since being traded over to the Twins. Dan, it's kind of like it piques my interest a little bit because there's so much going on right now with the Yankees as far as like Josh Donaldson IKF goes. And unless you've been living under a rock for like the last year, the Yankees got IKF and Josh Donaldson in a trade with the Twins a little bit before the season started in exchange for Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela. So I'm kind of like reflecting on the trade a little bit now that like the 2022 season's almost over. And I'm contemplating to myself, if I could go back in time, if I was a time traveler, would I still make that trade? And if I'm being honest with you, Dan, I'm probably going to say no, only because Josh Donaldson has been a huge disappointment. Like at the end of the day, I probably would have preferred to have Gio Urshela at third base over Josh Donaldson. That's just me. And then in those circumstances, IKF wouldn't be your shortstop. Like we said last episode, like IKF just isn't that guy. I would have much rather preferred like the Yankees kept Gio Urshela, go out and sign like Carlos Correa, maybe sign another shortstop, and then put yourself in like a much better situation as far as that goes. And like if you had to keep on to Gary, or you could probably like dump him elsewhere. I don't know, but at the end of the day, reflecting on the trade, it was one of those at the time. It didn't really make sense to me, but I was hoping as time went on, it would make sense. But with the underperformance of Donaldson and IKF, I wish I could go back and have the Yankees not make that trade.
It's no doubt one of Cashman's worst moves as Yankees GM of all time. Now that's in hindsight. And I, got to say at the time I was pretty hyped about it. I liked Josh Donaldson, and rightfully so. Dude was coming off a really good year and fell off dramatically, which is so curious because it can't be about him being washed. He's still really good defensively. Just forgot. Well, he forgot how to hit. Also, just forgot how to have an plated approach, because I think by far he is the most frustrating at bat I've seen on the Yankees in a long ass time. His swings don't always look terrible, but what pisses me off the most is the taking the strike threes that are right down the dick. Anyways,
it's like a Luke Voigt kind of thing.
Very much so. It depends which way you look at it, though, because if you present it to me, would I rather have Gary and Gio or Donaldson and IKF? That's something I have to think about, but I think I still would probably see. I'm not too sure because both situations are pretty shitty. I mean, Gio hasn't been terrible. Gary pretty much has been. Donaldson's been pretty bad, but good defense. IKF's been bad all around. If I could change it, what I would have done is you still get rid of Gary and probably Gio as well, and you just do it in a different way that isn't taking on Josh Donaldson's $25 million over the next 2 years. And I honestly bringing in IKF, if you weren't going to sign a shortstop long-term, which of course we all would want them to do, but they didn't. Putting that aside, if you were just getting IKF and he served the role he was supposed to serve, being a stopgap shortstop until Peraza is ready, which pretty much he was good to go by early August at the latest, right? So if he just served that role and the Yankees followed through on their original plan, then I think it would have worked out fine. But the way they've handled it even since has been terrible. So overall, like I said, it's been one of Cashman's worst of all time.
Yeah. I mean, but that's kind of like what I want to say too. It's like, hypothetically, if you don't do the deal, that's not necessarily saying like Gary and Gio would still be on the Yankees right now. It's more so thinking like the Yankees could have utilized those assets to maybe do something different. Like I said, you maybe would have went out and gotten Correa.
I mean, you can maybe call Gio an asset, but like Gary wasn't really, at least in the positive form of being an asset. I think it was more so those two.
Well, you thought he was a liability? Gary's my guy, bro.
Oh, dude, I love Gary. Gary was my boy, and I still love Gary. I hope the Yankees sweep the Twins, but I would be pumped if Gary hit like 4 homers. That'd be sick. But yeah, I mean, I think they were getting dumped regardless, and you probably didn't have to do it in a way of getting. It wasn't more so than picking up Donaldson, and this is something I'll give Cashman a little bit slack on. It's not like Donaldson was necessarily dumped on the Yankees. I mean, he was, but they were still getting what they thought was a really good player. He had a great year last year.
No, but they were obsessed with IKF. Like they would have given up anything to get Isaiah Kiner-Falefa,
which is hilarious. And I think
it's insane. But whatever. Yeah. Speaking of Gary, before we do wrap things up, did you see he almost got clocked in the mouth? Listen, I'm sure everyone saw the video by now. On deck circle kind of thing going on, right? One of the other guys on the Twins kind of taking some practice swings. Gary walks right in front of him. He was probably about 2 centimeters away from being clocked in the face with a practice swing.
Dude, the most scary thing ever. And that's one of the reasons why I love him, bro. He just would have these clueless moments and just sometimes
He's
you wonder.
innocent.
It's like, yo, he very much is very innocent. And you look at him and you're like, is anything up in there? Like, are you good, man? And it's so funny the way he reacts to. He's just walking along all casual. You're just like, like, I love Gary, man. Like I said, I hope he does well this series. And I want him. We were talking before the show. Kind of feel bad for him. You know, this dude was at the peak of a athlete's peak, performing well in New York, getting some big postseason hits, had some couple really good years here. And we were also saying how he was judged before Judge. You know, he was the shit. And all of a sudden, you know, Judge took over. But hard not to feel bad for him. But I hope he bounces back, whether it's in Minnesota again next year or somewhere else. He'll get another opportunity at least for another couple of years.
It's weird, Dan. Like Gary didn't know that was his peak, right? Like you might never know when your peak is until it's not your peak anymore. Like, yo, this could be our peak right now. This could be our content creating peak, and we just don't know it.
I wouldn't be like tremendously disappointed with that. I'd be able to sleep all right at night if the Yankees Avenue Show is the highest thing on my mantle. I'm cool with that. You're not? Oh, what do you want? Lights Out bag is lights out on the top. Lights Out is me and Pat's like first ever podcast together. For those who don't know,
leave a comment if you watched Lights Out, and also if they're this deep into the show and they know Lights Out,
they're an OG. Yeah, they're a baller.
However, Dan, I think that's gonna wrap things up for the fifth episode.
Dude,
of
we're
the Yankees
coasting. That really is a milestone, man. 5 episodes in.
This might be the time of my life, man.
Nah, dude. Let's give the Pat and Dan Show a little bit of respect here. A little bit of respect. We did have a nice run with that. But yeah, dude. Episode 5 in the books was a blast, as always. Make sure everybody drops a like, comment, subscribe. Little housekeeping here. It is coming up on podcasts soon. I have it up technically on Spotify. We're working on Apple, but I'm hoping within ideally the week that it's going to be in audio form everywhere. But stay tuned for that. I'll probably put an update somewhere. That's what we do with this episode. For Patrick Hennessy, myself, Dan Rourke, we will see you guys next time. Let's go, Yankees.
Peace.